So welcome to a full new chapter. In this chapter, I will cover a different workflow than a traditional V-Ray offline rendering. We're going to use the Unreal Engine to render a full action sequence. And for the animation, we're going to be talking about how to stitch together multiple motion capture clips and how to tweak the motion capture data after once we stitch everything together. And then we're going to talk about how to use the Unreal Engine to build a simple scene, which we briefly cover in the very first chapter when we introduced the Unreal Engine basics. And then we're going to just drop in some atmospheric fog and just set up a nice lighting. Let's just take a quick look of the sequence that I used Unreal Engine to render in my actual film. In this clip, I used the Redwood Forest collection comes in from the marketplace. And it has really some really high quality assets. As you can see right now, all this running and jumping, it looks like one sequence, but it's actually stitched together using multiple different motion capture data from Mixamo as well. And then all those like a close-up gunplay sequence, I slow down a full motion capture data and I just add animate on top of that. In this chapter, obviously, I don't have time to cover the whole animation from start to finish, but I will talk about how to stitch together 3 clips. And also I will talk about some very interesting things, how to set up the first-person shooter perspective camera and how to work with the hand and the gun to make it like this kind of POV shot in FPS games. Another very important thing I will be covering is how to export animation data, either the rig or the animation keyframes from Maya to Unreal, and just to make everything in sync, because when we export in the camera, there's a little bit of workaround. Of course, the first thing first, we're going to talk about the reference. This reference actually comes from the latest Tomb Raider cinematics. You can see it's the sort of same similar forest jungle setup, and we have some really cool quick cut of how Lara attacks those soldiers. And again, when I'm looking at those references, I'm looking at how they cut shots together and what kind of lens they use to So it's just a good idea to get an idea of what kind of lens choices and camera angles we can pick when we're trying to do this kind of very compact jungle chase. And here again, this is another reference from the Avatar. Similar concept, big creature chasing the main character. So yeah, this is the same step I did in the first reference collection I think I talked about in the very first course. It's just to put those videos together, and I inserted some of my existing playblast, just try to make up a whole storyline and just to try to see if the edit actually flows. And for the mocap data, the first thing we have to look for all the mocap data we need. Same thing from Mixamo, I collected 5 or 6 motion capture clips we have running, and so what you see right now on the top is the raw data I put together, and on the bottom is the first pass stitch. No camera move, the camera simply just strictly follows the character. So you see we have the running, and then we cut to jumping, and then cut to a little backslide, and then we cut to a swing. It's just roughly, you get the idea. It's just how to stitch 5 different motion clips together. Let's talk about how to start from the running and hop over the first log and then come back to running. And here's another thing when we use this kind of mocap data, is that we kind of have to be creative. And even though we only can recycle a pose from this mocap clip, it's still good enough. It's just we just need to get something to start with. Before we start stitching those clips, there's one free plugin that you may need to and get ready before following this course, because we're gonna use this later on. It's called a studio library. There's whole install instructions on their website, and I think it's free, so you can just download and get that ready. We're gonna use this plugin to save our different clips, so we can load one clip from the other scene. Okay, let's take a look how to stitch those clips together. First thing first, we need to do the same step in the previous shot. Is we need to convert the animation from the joint to our character's controllers. And then we're gonna save out the keyframes from this controller and use the studio library to transfer them into a master scene where we're gonna stitch together all those animation clips. And one thing I want to mention again is that in the previous shot we talked about how to use a T-pose calibration from Mixamo joints to our rig T-pose, and then we're gonna use the FBX override to the same joint, has the same name, but the new joint has the animation data. Sometimes we download this motion clips from the Mixamo. In some cases, I found that the namespace is not always the same. So always to make sure that when you import the animation data, the T-pose joints has the same namespace as the incoming joints. So if you are missing the namespace either in the T-pose or in the new animation clip, we need to use a namespace editor to add the namespace back onto the T-pose. So here's I'm going to show you really quick how to do this step. So let's select the hip node for now, and we're going to go under the select tab and we're going to select the hierarchy. So in this way we can select everything under the hips, and then we go into the namespace editor. We're going to create a new namespace called Mixamo Rig. And then we're going to assign this namespace to this joint that doesn't have the namespace. So we're just going to add selected. So right now, all the T-pose joints have their Mixamo Rig namespace, which is identical with the incoming rig. So right now, if we just directly import the running FBX motion clips, I think it's the 2-cycle sprint. So you see now the actually I should say, right now the incoming joints have already overridden the old T-pose joints. I think this clip is about 50 frames. And the next step is, of course, we did this before, is we're just gonna bake out all the keys on those controllers, so we don't have any constraints anymore, and all movement exists on the controllers themselves. I'm just gonna import the Awesome Picker presets. Let's again select all the controllers we need: leg, hip, spine, arms, everything that we did the constraint to in the previous two chapters, I think. And then same thing, we're gonna bake out the translation and rotation channel. Okay, after we bake it, the first thing to check is to go to the graph editor to see if we have any Euler filter issue. See, right now we have a couple Euler filter issue here, very easy to fix. We just go to the curve and click on the Euler filter. It will just filter out anything that has a 180 or 360 degree flip. Okay, now we keep everything, all the controllers that we just baked selected, and we're gonna launch the studio library. We're gonna launch the studio library, and you can create your own folders under this left column. Well, we're just gonna call it test for now. Oh my god, this window is killing me. And we keep all the key controllers selected and right click, and we create a new animation clip, and we're gonna call this new animation clip 2 steps run. Oh my god, this window is floating everywhere. And because our animation only has about 50 frames, so we only need to write in this motion clip the frame 1 to frame 50. And also when we actually write it into Studio Library, we can create a thumbnail of the viewport, so we see what the animation is before importing it. Okay, right now all this controller's keyframes have been saved into this anim file, where we can load this anim into a different shot later on. So this running clip is ready, and the next step we're gonna do the same thing to the jump clip. I'm just gonna fast forward a bit. Same thing, we're gonna import our T-pose rig, calibrate it, give the namespace, and import the jumping animation, bake out the keys, you'll filter the keys, and then we're gonna save it to the library. Okay, right now we have the running and the jumping animation file ready, and all the 2 clips are saved into the Studio Library. Okay, next step, we need a master file where we're gonna stitch together those 2 clips. Let's just open a new scene and import a new. Actually, let's just open a fresh rig. We don't want any Mixamo T-pose involved in this anymore. We're just gonna open a fresh rig, fresh download from the website. Because all the controller has the same says the same name, so as long as the name is the same, we can just assign the animation back to those controllers. Yep. And let's just switch the leg from IK to FK. That's where we did all our animation clips at. And the hand, arm should be at FK already. Okay. Let's select the main controllers again, and now in the Studio Library, oh my god, the Studio Library is gone, and we're gonna do this part. We're gonna switch from running to jumping. Here's just a brief intro to the Studio Library, and when we import things, we can actually have a couple options to choose. How do we want to either connect the anim curves, or where we want those anim curves to start. Where do we want to assign those anim curves to? So here we're just going to use from selection, and in this way whatever the controllers we selected will be assigned the anim curves that comes from the 2 steps run animation file. And the current time toggle means like, where do you want this animation clip to start? If we because now the animation clip is from frame 1 to frame 50. If we check the current frame on and we apply, the whole animation will start from frame 30 to frame 80. But we want the whole animation to start from frame 1. So let's just go back to frame 1 and apply the animation. Our running animation clip has been assigned to this fresh rig, and now we have all the anim curves that we just copied from the mocap. We just copied from the mocap joints. And the next step is we're gonna import the jump animation as well, and then we're gonna do a blend. We're just gonna give it a couple frames extra room so we can toggle it back later. Same thing, keep all the main controllers selected. Oh my god, the Studio Library. Come on, don't snap it. There we go. Okay, keep all the main controllers selected, and we use the current time. We use the current time because we don't want to overwrite the existing keys. And then we check the current time, and it's gonna write starting from the frame 50. Here we have a connect option. Connect means if we open the graph editor, let's use the hip as the example. As you can see right now, the translation Z is going up, which means the character is moving forward. If we check the connect, once we import the clip, regardless what the original hip position was, it would just connect to the last frame of the previous clip and keep going forward. So here what we want is we want everything except the hip to perform exactly how it performed in the jump animation. But we want the hip to keep moving forward. So we want to, when we apply the arms and the limbs and everything else, we want to uncheck the connect option. And then at frame 55, we're gonna import this animation clip. Right now you can see the character. We're gonna come here and it's gonna do the jumping animation. And now we're gonna use the connect mode to apply the hip animation. So if we go into the graph editor, we can see how the connect mode affects the curves when we're importing the curves. Okay, so now if we play it, we can see the character will come to here and it will keep going forward. First thing, let's just shorten the gap between two clips a little bit. As you can see right now, after the run, it would just go into the jump clip. So right now we need to find a sweet spot to blend those two clips together. And I think we can find a pose. We can find a pose that works for both clips. Well, actually, these two clips connects pretty well. You see, we have the right foot land in the running, and at the beginning of the jumping, the left foot, the right foot is still in the ground. So let's the first thing, let's just do let's just smooth out the curves for the hips. You can see we have a little a flat portion there. First thing, let's just move everything up. So we smoothed out this little flat part, and same thing to every other channels. Here we can see he's ready to jump up. So before the jump, we should lower the gravity center, or the mass center. We should lower the mass center a little bit. And just smooth out the curves. Just give a little dip. And x-axis. Before the jump, maybe we need to lower everything down a little bit. You can see right now he is pushing with his left foot. So as the consequence, the whole body should move the opposite way a little bit as you use your left foot. Here I want to mention that this is not the only way to blend different motion clips together. You can even use the character set, create a character set, and use the track editor to actually blend two clips. But what I found that is because once you create a character set, you don't really see the keys anymore unless you go into the clip, which is not really intuitive. And from my experience, using this keyframes has give us the most direct access to different clips, and it's just my preferred way to do it. And also because we only see the character, we plan to see the character only from the side, so I don't really care much about how the blend works when we look from the front. As long as it works, it looks fine from the side, who cares, right? So if we now play the clip, it looks much better than before. There was a little bit bump there, but not too bad right now. So maybe I need to tweak the speed for the hip a little bit more. Maybe I need to make it go faster a little bit. Get rid of get rid of a couple of keys before, just to smooth out the blend a little bit. So you see now we get a better blend and pretty much seamless. So very quickly we blend together the running to the jumping. And after that, let's do another challenge. Let's blend the running clip back to, let's blend the running clip back to the character after it does a jump. So what it does is it's gonna run, jump, and gonna come back to run. Same thing, let's select all the main controllers. Let's select them. I'm being really careful with this window so it just doesn't snap. Same thing, let's give it a little bit 5 frames gap so we have a little room to adjust. Because you see here the hip is already a little bit twisted, so I don't really want to use the connect so it doesn't go crazy. Same thing, give 5 frames break, so we use no connect and make it blend back to the running clip. So even though right now after jump it goes back to the origin, but it's fine. It's a very easy fix in the graph editor. Let's select the hip and get rid of that teleport. So we just need to make sure the Z translation is keep moving forward, and that should just solve our problem. I can see there's a little bump after his left foot touches the ground. Maybe I need to get rid of the gap a little bit. Maybe give it like 2 frames gap. Okay. And then we go to the hip, smooth out the Z translation again so it doesn't go crazy. Let's try this. Not bad. There's a little like bump, little twitch there. You can see it looks like his right arm has a bit of a Euler filter issue. But let's worry about that a bit later. Let's delete a couple keys once it's landed so we have a better blend. Maybe just to, here's just a shift, smooth, try different things, see how it works. Just try to find a common pose that blends everything better. Don't kill yourself try to get a perfect blend. Even if we don't have a perfect, we have a little like bump here and there, we can always hide those bumps using camera cut. It's like once it's touches the ground, we're just gonna do a cut. So we have a lot of different ways to hide those little small mistakes. Don't worry too much about getting the perfect buttery smooth pixel perfect motion right now. And you never know how much you're gonna see later. You're probably gonna be covered by smoke or anything else, so don't worry about it. As long as like the whole momentum, the energy is there, it's good. Yeah, as long as there's no big mistake or big pulse here and there, they should be fine. Right here, that wasn't crazy. I see a little bit Euler filter issue on the right arm. You can see it twists about 360 degrees. So same thing, we're gonna select everything, use the Euler filter, get rid of any flip issue. So that should fix it. There's like a little pop here, and I kind of want to delete a couple more frames. Let's see if we can get a better result. I feel like the foot is slipping a little bit. Maybe I need to tweak the rotation for the hip a little bit, just to see those little gap, or like whenever there's a little spike, just smooth those things out. That should be good. Not perfect yet, but it's good enough for us to hide stuff. I kind of want to get rid of that foot slippery issue. Okay, roughly there. So this is just a general workflow how to blend together 3 different motion capture clips, and we just try to find the common pose and then give it a better blend. Delete a couple of keys here, delete a couple of keys here, delete a couple of keys there, and just to shift timing around and make sure the curves are smooth. A couple recap here is the first thing, to make sure the namespace is right when you import the mocap clips. The second thing, we talk about how to use the Studio Library to save all the animation clips, and then in the new scene we reapply those curves to talk about how to smooth out the curves in Graph Editor to make the blend better. To keep in mind, don't worry about too much about to get a perfect blend. We can always use the camera shake, to use some terrain or some vegetation to hide the blend. And when you find the blend point, it's always good to find the end of a cycle. So if it's running, you can always find when the foot is making contact with the ground, because that always can be used at the initiation for the next movement. And again, we're gonna have to be really creative when using those mocap data, and especially stitching them. As long as we can find a similar pose, and there's always gonna be a way to make it work. As long as it looks fine from the camera, who cares how it looks from the other perspective? And you're probably not gonna see the difference when.
Purchase genuine tutorial. Enjoy the question answering from course tutor in the long term. Join the exclusive Facebook group and learn from each other. Also, you can sign up with Yihu.com. Search for the course ID. Obtain the full learning courseware, project files. Follow us on Facebook. Get closer to become a master in CG field.